All right, y'all. It's your boy, Pastor Mike, aka 90s number five, and I am back in the 11th hour, man. We're here to have some good times with this word. We're here to have some fun. We're here to talk and just have a good time and just open up and be as here's a word that a friend just put on me today to be as authentic, which I already knew what authentic it was, but to be as authentic as we can, because I'm telling you, that's something that's really missing, I think, in society today, is to be authentic, to just be true, to be who you are, and just to love everybody the way that we can love. Just to here's something that we talked about: to learn how to agree to disagree, because we all ain't gonna be on the same page all the time. I don't have to always be right, even though I feel good when I am right. But we don't always have to be right all the time. So if we can agree to disagree sometimes, that's cool. That's cool. So I'm back in the house. I'm glad to be back in this seat, and we're going to talk a little bit today about setting the path. As parents, man, we want to lead the way for our children, and we want them to have something to follow. So sometimes we have to be those path setters, which means sometimes we have to do some things and say some things that may not be popular with our kids, but it's cutting that grass, it's chopping down those trees, it's laying that foundation for our kids to have something to follow, so that in the future, man, they will know and understand, that all the things that we went through and all the things that we're going through, it was meant for them, because hopefully and prayerfully somebody laid that path down for us, and so now is our time to lay that path down for our kids. Now, I'm gonna say something about one of my favorite TV shows, and I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I think I may have. I mentioned it before, but Andy Griffin, man, that is like one of my favorite shows. And I don't want to hear about they ain't got enough black people on that show. It is, man, come on. The show still has a lot of good things on there. My man Andy Griffin, which the only thing I don't really like about the show is that he just wasn't really ready really to venture out beyond Mayberry. Like, come on, there, you got to go and look at the world a little bit. But I love the show because the relationship that he had with his son Opie was just dope. It was just nice because even when he was in the wrong, he didn't hesitate to apologize or to say that he was wrong, or try to he didn't cover up his mistakes. He was like, I'm just trying to raise him the best way that I can. And so there are several memories I have about that show, but the one I want to talk about today, I just want to open up with about setting the path and creating this path for our children, is the time when Opie broke a window. He broke this window, and in on the show, if you have not seen this, and I'm sure you could probably look it up, but on the show, Andy arrests this guy, this young guy, for speeding through Mayberry, and the dude ended up having to hang out with Andy and his family. And so they're all on the porch, and Opie tells him about this window that he broke. And Andy said, okay, that's cool. You broke it. All right. But you're not going to get no allowance until that window is paid for. And Opie was like, all right, cool. So he gets up and run off. But the young man that was standing on the porch, he was like, why are you doing that? Like, why don't you just pay for it yourself? And he was like, well, if I pay for it for myself, well, if I pay for it for him, then he'll never learn responsibility and he'll never know the consequences. He said, so I have to show him or teach him that there are consequences to your action. Laying that path, man, I'm telling you, that's beautiful. It's our job that we set the path for them, to give them, to let them know, uh this is a direction in life you need to follow. Setting that path sometimes I'm gonna just tell you, it's not easy, because that means sometimes as parents we have to admit mistakes that we've made. We have to own up and be authentic about the things that we've done and the things that we're doing, because we're telling them we're not being perfect, we're just being on purpose. I'm not perfect as a parent. I know I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be on purpose, which means I have a purpose, which is to be a parent. So for me, my job is to show my children which direction to go. So that means sometimes I have to, lay the path down for them to have something to follow. And so as I'm doing that, the prayer is that they would see the things that I do and they would have the desire to do the same thing. And I mean, you can say, well, you could lay the path that they don't, but that doesn't mean that they have to follow it. That's true. They don't have to follow it, but at least I've laid the path and they understand and know that this is the direction that I want them to go. So as we lay a path, which really means is to lay a track or lay down a place for someone to walk. So and we're doing it continually. Like so, I love my kids. I love my kids. I do, man. I love my kids. I really do, and I thank God for having my kids. So I love being I guess I would say being a trailblazer for my kids because I want them to see, that dad does some things sometimes that I want you to do. I want you to learn how to apologize. I want you to learn how to say thank you and learn how to say please. And I want you to learn how to be polite. I want you to learn those types of things. And I want to show my kids on a continual basis what it looks like to do those things. So, which means I don't want to do things just because, we got money. If we got money, then let's go do this and let's go do that. Whether we're broke or whether we're rich or whether we have money or don't have a lot of money, I want to be able to continually do the same thing. I want to show them what it means to love, to have a lovable, to be in love with your wife. Like I want my sons to see what it looks like to be a husband who's in love with his wife on a continual basis. Now, will there be days we're going to disagree and have some, oppositions and some times, we're going to, disagree and have some arguments? Yes. But I want them to understand this is what a man looks like when he's loving his wife because I want them to do the same thing. But if I lay that path for them to follow, then they'll at least have something in front of them that they've seen, that they've heard, that's been taught to them, that now they can say, I can remember when my dad did this, or I can remember when my dad told me this. But if I never lay that path, then they don't have anything to follow. Then they don't have anything to look forward to. So then what they do, they start looking for their own path and they start looking for their own way. And most of the time, like we all know, young people are always going to try to find the fastest, the easiest paths to follow. So my wife does the same thing. She wants to show my daughter what it looks like to be a wife who loves her husband, a wife who does the things at home, takes care of this, takes care of that, who's there for her children because she wants her to understand what it is to be a loving wife and a loving mother. So listen, these paths that we set, we have to be on purpose with them. We have to make sure that we're laying these paths for a reason. Now, remember, I'm saying we don't have to be perfect. And I think sometimes we think as parents that we have to be perfect for our children. Children are not looking for perfection. They just looking for authenticity. Oh, that's a hard word to say, to be authentic. Let me just say it like that because that other word is a little hard for me to say. But kids are just looking for us to be true, or what the kids would say, they looking for us to be 100. Like, just be honest. Like, just be honest to your kids. Like, we make mistakes too. We're not perfect. We're just on purpose. My purpose is to get you to the place where you need to be. Because listen, if I am the parent and if I am the man of the house and if I'm doing what God has called me to do, then my purpose is to show my children what it is to be the man of the house and to have a family that loves God. Now, I know during this process, if it has anybody ever been like through a trail, like when, especially when we were kids, we used to run off into the woods and then, we just blaze through the woods and, it would be no path through the woods at all. And you have to kind of make your own path and, you knocking down branches and you kicking sticks out the way and, you trying to dodge some snakes here and there. And, and you just kind of not really knowing where you're going. You just kind of feeling your way. And then you kind of turn around and the path has been worn a little bit, but not that much. But then as your friends come through the woods and they following you and you guys begin to run back and forth to your little spot that you found in the woods that you think that's a hideaway. And so, you guys are running back and forth there from day to day and from time to time. And then before you know it, that little path has become a direction to the place that you want to go because as you've done it, as you walked over the grass and as you've created this path, now you can see your way to the place that you want to be. That's what we do as parents. We try to create these paths so that our children can say, that's where I want to be. I want to be a father just like my dad. I want to be a wife just like my mom. These are the paths that we lay down for our children. And at times it's hard. When I think about that, I think about the journeys that I've been on and the journeys that I'm going through. It's hard. It's not easy, but you have to be on purpose. What's the reason for the path that you're setting? And that's what keeps you on your journey. When I look at my kids, that's my whole purpose. When I look at my kids, that's my purpose. That's why I do what I do. They are my purpose. They are my reason. So that's why I'm setting the path for my kids. It's a time of communication. It's a time of teaching, a time of learning, and a time of caring, because our kids need direction. Now, what is a direction? A direction is a course along which someone or something moves. The management or guidance of someone or something. See, we as parents, we gotta guide our children. I know, because my kids say it to me all the time. They're like, "Oh, daddy, you so old fashioned. Oh, daddy, we don't do things like that no more. Daddy, you don't know what's going on. The world is different." I get it. I get it 100. I believe you. The world is different, but there are some things that don't never change. Like, it's gonna always be the same. There are some paths or some foundational things that will not change. I don't care how old you get. I don't care how times change. I understand that, we ain't washing clothes in the river no more. So we use these fancy washing machines. But guess what? You still got to do with your clothes. You still got to wash them. It's the way you wash them may have changed, but you still gotta wash them. Whether you pick your clothes up, carry them down to the river and scrub them down at the stream on some rocks, or you pick your clothes up out your room and you carry them downstairs and put them in the washing machine, you still gotta pick them clothes up and you still gotta go wash them. There's some things that you have to do as a parent that, times have changed, but you still gotta discipline your kids. You still got to talk to them. You still got to build those relationships. You still have to spend time with them. And it all has to be on purpose, and there are times when it's just you and your kids and y'all just hanging out and you just, for no reason at all. You may, go out and take a walk, or you may go, to the movies, or you may just, go to the lake, or you may go just, when my kids, they gonna love this one, you just go shopping. There's some things that you may do that may not really home in on a lot of purpose, but when you're trying to lay down the foundation for life, it has to be on purpose, because we want to guide them through life. We don't want to lead them, as in, tell them what they're going to do, tell them what they have to do, because there's going to come a point, when you're not going to be able to do that anyway. But if I can help guide you through life, then that's what my purpose is. And one way I help guide you through life is setting a path for you to follow, so that you can come along and know this is what we should be doing and this is how we should be doing it. One of the things I love, man, one of the things I love about my mom, man, she used to cook. Man, she used to throw down in the kitchen. I be trying to get her to throw down now, but she don't want to be doing it. I don't know why, but she used to throw down in the kitchen. So that's one of the things that she taught me, was like how to throw down in the kitchen. Like, man, when I go in the kitchen, man, I love to cook. Now, it don't always turn out the way that she turned out food, but I'm trying to cook like she cooked. And one of the things that she taught me that I still do today is that my mom taught me that as you cook, make sure you wash your dishes at the same time, because once you get done cooking, you ain't gonna want to turn around and have to wash all those pots and pans you've been cooking. I mean, after you get through eating, you don't want to turn around and wash all those pots and pans you've been cooking in. So she said, learn how to cook and clean at the same time. So she laid down the path for that. My mom also laid down the path about loving people. Like, she was like, you got to learn to love people. You may not agree with everything people do or say, but you got to learn to love them. So she laid down that path. My mom also laid down the path of being a good mom. Like, man, she laid that down. Like, even during the hard times and the rough times, she was still there. I mean, as much as she worked and as much as she spent time doing other things, man, one thing was for sure is that she was going to be involved in my school. Like, dude, she was at the school, she was at events, she was at the parent teachers conferences, man. She was there. So guess what I do now? Man, I'm there for my kids. Like, I'm going to the parent conferences, I'm there at school with them. I try to be as involved with them as I can because she laid that path for us, that we followed that same path. And another path that she laid down was that, you got to love the Lord. Like, you got to love him. Like, you truly got to love him, but you also got to understand him too. Like, it's just not a blind love to where you don't know who he is and don't understand his ways, but you got to understand that too. And so guess what I do? I try to lay that same path down for our children because I want them to be able to walk in that same direction. I want them to be able to do the same things. I'm telling you, it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. Doing those things for your kids is fun. And having those opportunities to do those things is wonderful because God has placed you in a position to bring somebody up in a way that the Lord has been trying to do for you. And so when we have these conversations, because I know my kids, the things they say, I'm praying that they don't mean all those things, but I do know that they understand that, we're doing the best that we can. I mean, sometimes parenting gets hard and it is not that easy. But as we continue to live for the Lord and continue to do the things that God has called us to do, we most definitely can set the pathway and set the tone for our children. Why is this important? This is important because we want to set patterns in our house. We want to be able to set patterns that they follow. So if we can set patterns that they follow, the prayer would be what Romans 12 talks about is that, not conforming to the patterns of the world, but be conformed or be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So if I can set patterns, which is things that they do over and over and over and over and over again, hopefully those patterns and those rhythms that they're learning at home would be the same patterns and rhythms that they learn to do outside of home. But how do they learn that unless I teach it to them? You say, well, how do you teach it to them if they ain't gonna follow it, or if they not gonna be at home, or if they're not gonna do what you ask them to do? Well, every family is going to be different. Every family is going to be different. So whatever I give you, I just want it to be a way for you to say, okay, I can use some of that for my household. But here's the trick, man, you got to do it. Like, you have to do it. You have to do it. If you want to set a pattern or if you want to set a tone for your household, trust me, you have to do it. I know, you work, you go to school, you got, um, things that you have to do around the house. You have errands you got to run. Sometimes life just beats you up, and a lot of times when you get home, you just want to chill. You just want to turn the TV on, or you just want to, sit in a corner, or you just want to cook a good meal. You just kind of want to be by yourself. But listen, you have to be able to say, that's why I'm here. So as a parent, we have to be willing to teach those patterns. We have to be willing to do those things for our kids, even when the times when we don't feel like doing them, because that's what makes us a parent. I mean, we've learned over the past that if we take the time to just parent our kids, sometimes it can make a big difference in their life. And I'm a witness to this because I know for a fact, even though kids say this, I truly believe that this is what they want. They say they don't want to be bothered with you. They say they don't want you in their business. They say they, want to do this or do that. But trust me, at the end of the day, they just want you. They want you to be involved in their lives. They want you to connect with them. And as a parent, I know I mentioned this a while back. Sometimes we just got to figure out how to do that. We just have to figure out how to do that because all of our kids are different. My kids are not the same as your kids, and your kids are not the same as somebody else's kids. And so all of us have to figure out ways, how do we lay this path down with our kids that they will follow it? How do we do that? How do we create a pattern or a path in our households where our kids will be willing to follow it? One way I truly believe is, let's not try to be perfect. let's just not try to be perfect. Let's just be on purpose. If we just be on purpose, I think everything else will fall in line. So I don't try to show my kids how to be perfect. I just try to show them how to be on purpose. Teaching my sons how to be a man is not that easy, especially when I wasn't given a direct path to that myself, when there was no one to lay that groundwork for me. Now, my grandfather now now I'm gonna tell you, now the things that he used to do, boy, I'll tell you, it probably gets you in trouble nowadays. But I mean, just the love that he had for his wife and the love that he had for his family, and the way he loved the Lord, and the way he was a leader in the church, and the way that he provided for his family, and the things that he would do and the things that he would say, he gave me a path to follow. Like, he gave me a path to follow, that I strive to be like him in the things that he taught me while he was here on this earth. And so I tried to do what he showed me. Now, he wasn't there for me every single day of my life. He wasn't there, through all the times of my life, but he was there in my life. So he gave me a little bit of a path to follow. And that's what I try to follow. Now, for my kids, I'm trying to be there for them every single day. I'm trying to be there for all the things that they're going through. I am trying to lay down some serious groundwork with my kids, because I know one day they're going to be fathers, and I know one day my daughter's going to be a mother. And I know that what we are instilling in them now, it may not come out now, but it's going to come out later, because I know, because I do it. I do it now, because I talk about stuff that my mom said to me when I was a kid. I talk about situations I went through when I was a kid. I talk about how my mom handled situations with us when we were kids. And I used to say stuff like, man, when I get kids, I ain't doing this. Like, I'm do something different. Turn around, I'm doing it now. Why? Because I feel like those things that my mom laid down on me when I was young is part of why I am who I am today. Now, listen, listen, we're gonna be honest here too. We're gonna be truthful here. Everybody's not gonna follow that path. Everybody, all your kids are not going to follow that path. And that's one thing I've had to learn, is that we can make the path, but we can't have them follow the path. We want them to follow the path, but you got to make sure that the path that they do follow is the path that you want them to follow. Because if they don't follow the path that you lay down, the prayer is that eventually, even though they decide to go another direction, that they eventually will come back to what you've been teaching them and what you've been showing them. Because, everybody has their own thoughts, everybody has their own mind, and everybody has their own way they think. But God still wants us to lay down that path for our children. So I don't get upset when I get on my kids. I don't. Now, they might get upset that I do get on them, but I'm never getting on them just to be getting on them. I'm getting on them so that I can help frame and form this path that they need to follow. I set the tone in the house. I try my best to set the tone. And sometimes that's not easy, because, as men, we go through rough times too. We go through rough days. We go through rough issues. And sometimes we're not always feeling the best. And so some days, I might need my wife to take up the slack to like help set the tone. But as we're working together to set that path, now our kids can see what that looks like, that we're both working together. We're not perfect, but we're just trying to be on purpose. And that helps all of us. And another thing too, man, like, I love to hear my kids. I love to hear them talk. I love to hear what they have to say about stuff. I know we talked about this, but man, getting input from them, because sometimes they could help you lay that path. They could tell you some things, or voice their opinion about some things that would help lay that course in that direction. But listen, at the end of the day, it's still me. It's still me, the one who's trying to lay that path down. Now, I'm gonna listen to you. I'm gonna give you that. But if that path and that direction doesn't fit what we're trying to do in our household, now we're gonna have to have some discussions. Uh, First of all, I'm gonna have to wait till you at least know what you're talking about, and then and then we can have some discussion, because I'm just a big believer that, man, come on, you got to be at least a certain age before you kind of come at me about some stuff. Now I'm gonna hear your thoughts, because everybody has thoughts. And one thing I'm a big believer is that everybody has feelings. Everybody has feelings. So I'm never gonna doubt your feelings on how you feel about stuff, but we are going to have some conversations about some things, because there are some things that will go, and then there's some things that won't go. But I'm going to be man enough to talk to you about either way, because a friend of mine today, and I hope he don't mind me talking about this, because I know sometimes he listens to the podcast, but he and I was talking this morning. We was talking about, conflict. Nobody likes conflict. Nobody likes, you know, uh, arguing and having rough conversations. But, sometimes you have to have those. I mean, especially inside your household. I mean, because sometimes there's going to be conflict inside your household, because your kid's going to want to go one way. They're going to want to do things a different way. They're going to see life in a different direction. But that's cool. That's okay. You can do that. But we're going to have a conversation about that. I'm not just going to let you just go off and do stuff that's against or different than what we have set forth here in the house. We're going to have some conversations about it. And here's the beauty of it. There's nothing wrong with that, just as long as it stays as a conversation. Now, if it gets to the point where it gets violent and people screaming and hollering, throwing stuff and calling each other out their names, now that's a problem. But if we keep it as in cool conversation, let me hear your point of view, you hear my point of view, then we're going to work on this thing together. I mean, conflict is always a big thing. I don't believe, at least I don't think nobody really wants to go out and have conflict on purpose. I mean, there may be a few people that may be like that, but I think for most of us, we all try to stay on the same page at the same time, or at least give leeway to people, because I don't like conflict. I mean, I don't like it, and I try my best to avoid it as much as I can. But what he was telling me this morning was is that, as we have, I wish I could remember exactly how he put it, but one thing that he was saying is like, conflict makes things better. It really does. Conflict makes things better because it makes us grow and it stretches us. Because I know my kids don't agree with everything that I do. I know my kids don't agree with everything that happens. And I know they don't agree with everything that I say, just like I don't agree with everything they do and everything that they say. But sometimes it helps us if we work together through those conflicts and through those times about those things are not working, but it allows us to do things together, which makes us stronger, because now you're able to say your say, I'm able to say my say, but we're able to come together and continue to build and be stronger. I'm telling you, going back to the Andy Griffith thing, man, I'm telling you, I think that's part of reasons why sometimes, man, I don't blow my top, is because, I try to understand what they're going through, and I try to understand the point of views that they have, and I try to listen to the things that's going on in their life, because I need to know. First of all, let me back up a little bit. First of all, I need to know what's going on in their lives. I need to know. And in order for me to know that, that means I have to sit and listen. I have to sit and listen to what's going on in their lives. So that allows me to put some input into their lives if they ask me. And sometimes, sometimes I'm just gonna be a parent. Like, you ain't even gotta ask me. I'm just gonna put my input anyway, because that's what I'm supposed to do. And so I'm always prayerful that they listen to my input. But that's what I'm here for, is that I'm here to put input into your life, because I want to be on purpose with my relationship with my kids. Like, I want them to know that I don't just want to be there when things go wrong. I also want to be there when things are going right. And I also just want to be there because I'm supposed to be there. So I try to be on purpose with that. So first I have to listen to them and let them know that I'm going to be there for them. And then secondly, they need to know that this is the path that's been set in our house. I love Dr. Tony Evans. I don't know if many of you guys know, I love Dr. Tony Evans, man. I'm telling you, he could break the Bible down like nobody. Like, he can break it down better than, I think, probably one of the better pastors that I've heard in a long time. And here's one of the things that he talked about. I remember him doing a session with all of his kids, and they were talking about growing up, and they was talking about how he used to sit around the dinner table and create conversations with his kids. And I remember, I think the friend, he was telling me that when they was making these conversations, a lot of times the kids didn't even talk about what they were supposed to be talking about, because they were kids. they would be, throwing food or get off subject or just be laughing and talking. But he really tried to be on purpose with what he was doing. And I thought that was just so cool because I remember growing up, man, we used to eat around the dinner table like all the time. Like it wasn't a thing for us to eat around the dinner table. But nowadays, to eat around the dinner table, that's strange. Like a lot of families don't eat around the dinner table like they used to. So I was like, man, we just gonna be on purpose. Like we're gonna sit down at the table as a family and we're gonna eat dinner. Now we don't do this every single night, but we try to make sure we lay the foundation that at least 2 or 3 times a week we're gonna sit down at the dinner table and we're gonna eat as a family. Yes, 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 yes. A lot of times they don't like it because they want to go to their room and shut their door and take their plates upstairs, or they want to eat when they want to eat. So if we cook it at 7, they trying to come downstairs at 8:30, 9 o'clock trying to eat. But I'm like, no, man, we're gonna be on purpose. Like we're gonna purposely, if we cook at 7, we eating at 7:30 and we're gonna eat together as a family. We all gonna sit at the table and we gonna eat. And even if we have to eat in peace and quiet and nobody says nothing, but at least we're all sitting at the table. But eventually what happens is that we're all sitting at the table, conversations gonna break out. Somebody's gonna say something, and before you know it, we sitting downstairs. Now it's like 9. We've been down there for 2 hours just tripping at the table, just sitting and talking, because we're trying to be on purpose with our kids to say, listen, these phones, man, they're beautiful and praise God for them, but that's not the path to your life. This is not the direction I want you to go. I want you to build a relationship, not with your phone, but I want you to build a relationship with me. And if I can get you to build a relationship with me, then prayerfully and hopefully you can learn to build relationships with others. As you learn to deal with conflict in the home, hopefully and prayerfully you learn to deal with conflict outside the home. Because here is a here is the best place to learn how to deal with conflict, because you have people here that love you, people here that are encouraging you, people that's here that want to be a part of your life. When you get outside of us, there's gonna people who don't care about you, don't care about your life, and they may not want to work with you. But if you learn how to deal with it there, if I can teach you to be on purpose, if I could teach you by laying the path, by saying this is the way we do it. Because my prayer would be is that my kids would do the same thing with their kids, is that they would have dinner together, they would sit and talk together, and they would have communication and they would talk, and they would let their kids know I'm not perfect. I'm just being on purpose. And my purpose is to bring you up in the best way that I can. I am setting the tone in my house for you because there are good things that I want you to do, and there's good things that I want you to follow. So as we talk about that, and as we allow ourselves to understand and know that God leads us and guide us in the right direction, and if we follow him, there are some great things that can happen in our life. Now, I've asked several guests when they came on to give me one of their favorite scriptures, and they all would pretty much go to Proverbs 3:5-6, and it says this: trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. I'm telling you, there's nothing worse than being on a trail where there's hills and curves, and the path is not totally straight. I mean, sometimes that's fun, but I want a path that's straight and a path that's smooth. And if I can set that path for my kids, then that's what I'm going to do. If I have the ability to do that for my kids, that's what I want to do. Hey, I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. I love being a husband. I love being a father. I love being a son. I love being a brother. But most of all, man, I love being a man of God, hearing from God, letting him set my path straight. So I most definitely can do the same thing with my kids so that I can set their path straight. Hey, I love the 11th hour. I love that thought, man. I love being a part of the show. I love coming on the mic and saying what I say, coming on the mic, doing what I do. I love it. I hope you love it too. And I hope you continue to tell people about what's going on here in the 11th hour. giving people a different thought, giving different people a different perspective on life, giving people something new. Because I'm a big believer of family, and I think we need to get back to that. We need to get back to our family, which I might just do a show on that about, men sticking around and being men, and being a part of their families again. I may just have to do that at one time or another, because. But anyway, I ain't gonna get into all that. But this is the 11th hour. I love doing what I do. Remember, make moments, make movements, not just moments. Make a movement, not just moments. Hey, that's what's been popping here on the 11th hour. I appreciate you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you. Always hit us up on our website, the Nicholas Foundation. You can go there and check us out, the Nicholas Foundation Borough.org. Hey, this is your boy, Pastor Mike, 90s number 5, and I'm out. Peace.